We are up to week 4 of our Secret Agent Society program, and this week we start to introduce the topic of friendships. So we finish off talking about our relaxation gadgets and things that we can do to help our body to feel calm when we're anxious or worried. And then we move on to diving a bit deeper into what makes a good friend, friendship formulas, who our friends are, who we would love to be friends with, and how we can become a better friend. So to start the session off, we talked about what we call the Enviro Body Scan. So an Enviro Body Scan is a bit like it's a bit like a meditation practice, but a really quick one that you can do anywhere, anytime. And it's really practical in that we're using our senses. So we're focusing on the sensations that are happening in our body. Then we're focusing in on the sensations that are happening in our environment. So what we can see, what we can hear, that sort of stuff. And then we're paying attention to our super senses. What can we smell? What can we taste? So there's a step-by-step sort of process that you can read through in your book. It is on page 58, and it looks like this, that helps you go through this. This might be a nice bedtime activity to do as you're sort of winding down from the day, just so that you understand and so you have some sort of connection with your child about what this Enviro Body Scan is, because it can be really powerful and you can do it anywhere without anyone really realizing that you're doing it. And so it's just about tuning in to those senses. And so when we're angry or anxious, we're often really focused in on whatever the negative thought or the worry is, and we can focus in on one thing. And this is about saying, rightio, let's redirect that focus out and away from ourselves so that we're not so self-absorbed and worried about what's going on in here, and we're taking that focus away from us. So what can I see in the distance? What can I hear? What can I hear that's close to me? What can I hear that's further away? What is the feelings that I can feel under my feet at the minute? Does my skin feel hot or does it feel cold? Are my hands feeling really soft or are they feeling a bit sort of scratchy? What can I taste? What sensations are there in my mouth at the moment? So just asking ourselves some questions. What does it feel like in my legs when my legs are walking around and I'm moving? Those sort of questions distract us from ourselves. They take our focus away from what the worry was and allow us to focus on something else. And then that nervous system, that fight-flight response gradually starts to come down because we're not focused on it anymore. Each emotion that we have only lasts for 90 seconds. But if we fuel that emotion and we keep feeding into it, then it becomes 90 seconds on 90 seconds on 90 seconds, and then it just spirals out of control. But if we are aware of the emotion and we're like, oh, feeling really angry now, and then we start to focus on our breathing, or we focus on, what can we see out there? Then all of a sudden our brain switches gears, the emotion leaves us after that 90 seconds, and our body starts to calm down. And so it's a really practical tool to use when you're in the car, when it's bedtime, when you're waiting in a line for something, when you're feeling really impatient. It is a distraction technique to help us to calm down. So it's the last of our relaxation gadgets. Again, there'll be a little card in your little blue book to remind you of this so that you've got it there to go back on. So pulling that little blue book out and having a bit of a chat to your child about all of the relaxation gadgets that are in there can help those stay fresh in their mind and help them to maybe practice some of those. The more that they use them, the more valuable that they'll be. If they just sit in the book and they don't get used, then they're not going to remember them. It's like anything that's new. We need to be using it over and over again for us to be able to remember it. Then we move on to talking about friends. We talk about why friends are important. We talk about what makes up a good friend. And your child will come home with this cool little canister, looks a bit like this, with all of the ingredients of what makes a good friend. And the crux of that message is that, say, a good friend is kind, a good friend is thoughtful, a good friend doesn't gossip, a good friend likes to talk to you, they might be funny, they might be good at keeping secrets. So what happens is that what we look for in others as a good friend is also what we need to practice in ourselves. We need to practice getting better at those things ourselves so that we become a better friend. Because when we're a better friend, then we're more likely to attract great friends to us. But if we're not a nice friend, then obviously we're not going to attract as many nice people to us. And so it's a reflection activity, I suppose, about helping us become the best version of ourselves as well. So there becomes 2 missions then for this week. Mission 1 is to be friendly to somebody else. So to do a friendly deed, to do something kind to somebody else, to help us practice being that good friend. And then the next part of it is helping to identify who our friends are. So we've obviously got friends that are like our best friends. And then we've got some friends that might be people in our class. We might play with them at recess and lunchtime, but they're not our best friends. We wouldn't share our secrets with them. Then we've got our kind of friends. So they're people that we might see at basketball, that we chat to, but we wouldn't catch up with at home, or that we wouldn't sort of play with a lot. Then you've got people you've seen around. So that might be like people you've seen at the supermarket, or people that you might have seen at the post office. And then you've got strangers, so people you don't know. So we start to categorise people into each of those categories so that we can make that differentiation between who's a stranger, who's a best friend, and who has the potential to move from the sort of friends or friends category up towards being best friends, and what it's going to take to move someone through those levels. And so what we start to do is do a profile around ourselves and what we love. So we might love footy, and we might love playing tennis, and we might love Xbox, and we might love watching movies. And then we want to go, okay, well, who do we know that also loves those things? So they're not my best friend yet, but there's someone I know who also likes those things. And we write their name down, and we start to, so you can check out on page 64 in the book, have a talk to your child about who they put down as being their possible friends. And then we start to do this activity card where we work out, okay, well, how can we learn more about them? How can we show an interest in them, find out more about them, and look to start to move them from being a sort of friend or a friend into that best friend category. And it gives us some really practical tools for how to do that. So that's the crux of the session. You can use this section here at the back. There's one of these sections at the back of every week where you can write down what you did as a bit of a reflection tool to say, rightio, this is the friendly act I did and this is how it went. Or this is the kind deed I did and this is how it went. And so there's a section there just to be able to reflect on that that friendship process and how other people reacted to that, so they can see a really clear cause and effect, that when you do something kind or when you act really friendly, that other people act friendly back. So, and if they don't, we'll get to that whole bullying section in a few weeks' time. But basically, it's just about us being the instigator and practicing it. I think sometimes for kids, we just think it's other people's responsibility and it's not us. And therefore they're like, oh, everyone's mean to me. Nobody likes me, but they're not actually doing anything actively themselves to be proactive in attracting people to them either. And so if we help them instigate some friendly acts and some kind deeds, then it makes them much more open to being a good friend and to attracting friends to them, because people are more likely to approach them if they're appearing kind and ready to engage. So I hope that all makes sense. Like always, if you've got any questions, please contact the office, make a time to catch up with one of the facilitators, and we can happy to go through any of these things with you. We hope you're enjoying the program, and we hope your child is enjoying the program. And yeah, we're nearly halfway, so it's going really quickly. I hope, hope we're getting plenty out of it. Have a great day.